Good afternoon and welcome to the PaulRicard circuit here in southern France for race one of the Ferrari Challenge TropheoPirelli series. And a good crowd here at PaulRicard in the glorious sunshine to enjoy the Ferrari Challenge racing as this grid of 4.58s is about to take to the track. So we're just over halfway through the season. As you can see, we're all here at PaulRicard with Imola and Valencia and Mugello, the World Finals still to come. All the information at CourseClienti.com. That's the website for you to check out everything that you would need to know with regards to the Ferrari Challenge. So the 5.8 kilometre circuit here at PaulRicard, which has already played host to the Copa Shell cars out on track earlier this afternoon. Clear blue skies with a bit of harmless high cloud, as you can see, and glorious temperatures with just enough wind to take the edge off the heat here. And temperatures yesterday inside the cars reaching some 60 degrees when the guys were out there in qualifying. As you can see, 28.5 degrees the temperature at the moment. By the Hublot safety car. Then let's take a look at some of the features of this PaulRicard circuit right now. So fantastic circuit here in southern France. We're about an hour from Marseille, I guess, as we look at the car of our pole sitter Babalus. Matteo Santaporte, but he uses the Babalus nom de plume as his father did. This is Bjorn Grossman alongside in car number 84 for the Octane 126 team. Bjorn Grossman, who currently leads the pro category TropheoPirelli points. Two sets of drivers in this TropheoPirelli race. We have the AM drivers and the pro drivers, and first three grid positions occupied by pro drivers. Babalus, Bjorn Grossman and Nikita Zlobin is P3 on the grid in car number 40. And there is Zlobin then, looking very, very focused indeed before the start of the race. Martin Nelson for Scuderia Autoropa. Good qualifying from Martin Nelson to find him P4. And all the activity down there on the grid just ahead of this race getting underway. There is David Gostner. His sister, Manuela Gostner, was racing in the earlier Copa Shell race. And a very creditable P7. At one point, she was up to P4, and then a spin sent her further down the order than perhaps was deserved. So we'll see what David Gostner can do from P5. And the worst of the pro drivers in terms of qualifying was Florian Merckx down there in P9, but he has no track knowledge at all. As we look at Sturzinger then, Nicholas Sturzinger, the Foytech racing driver. Okay, let's take a look at the PaulRicard circuit right now.
Hi, my name is Gautam Singhania, and I come from India to race in the European Ferrari Challenge. I've always been passionate about cars since childhood, and it was a dream to come and race in Europe one day. This is my first year in the championship, this being the fourth round at PaulRicard. We've done a bit of testing here, and I hope that pays off. Looking forward to the weekend. I think it's a great circuit. I like the idea that it's got a lot of runoff areas, so one is able to push harder, and even if one makes a mistake, you're safe. It's unique with its blue and red colors. You've got to stay in the flow in this circuit, because if you're not in the flow, you lose a lot of time, and I'm losing a lot of time in the second part of the circuit. I just have to get my rhythm there, but I'm sure as the racing comes, we'll get there. The atmosphere is fantastic. It's great to be here in summer, but from a driver's point of view, it's very, very hot. We were testing here on Monday, and it was sweltering. I mean, it was so hot. And I did a 1 hour, 10-minute session. I don't know where I got the energy, but for 3 days I couldn't. And now please come and enjoy the European Ferrari Challenge with us here at PaulRicard.
Thanks to Gautam Singhania, one of our co-Pichel drivers, for giving us an insight into the PaulRicard circuit here. Fangio is P12 on the grid. Frederic Jean-Marie Fangio, whose grandfather was cousin of the legendary Juan Manuel Fangio. So great to have the Fangio name here in the Ferrari Challenge. Now, all the marshals across the course of this afternoon have been pretty synchronized in everything that they've done, whether it's holding boards up, there we go, 1, 2, 3, or whether it's flag waving. They've been really, really entertaining this afternoon. Here's the grid in full for you. Babelas, P1, Born Grossman is P2, then it's Nikita Zlobin, P3, and Martin Nelson, P4. To the next row, it's David Gostner, then Nicholas Sturzinger, then it's Andrea Segler and Alessandro Vezzoni, P7 and P8. Then we see Florian Merckx and Alexis Di Bernardi with Tommaso Rocca, P11, and Frederic Jean-Marie Fangio going from P12. And it's Peter Noflak that will be bringing up the rear for Kessel Racing, P13. So final moments of preparation down there on the grid before this TropheoPirelli race gets underway. And we await the cue for the board to go up. So all the engineers leaving the circuit. And you can see the clock on the left-hand side of your screen on top of the Hublot gantry, telling us it's 28.5 degrees right now. And we are 5 seconds away from that board being lifted. On cue now. Well done. Start your engines, if you will. Rolling start for the Ferrari Challenge, which means that they will be away and led away on a formation lap with the Hublot safety car. At the end of that lap, they'll be invited to grid up, and if the race steward is happy with the grid order, then the safety car will peel off, and we will be away and racing for a 30-minute race in this TropheoPirelli category of the Ferrari Challenge, which contains both Pro and Am drivers. So 30 seconds board goes up, and the Hublot safety car is released. Smiles all round, great to see. And now the cars are released on the formation lap. Some fantastic liveries. You'll note that Babelas and Martin Nelson wearing the same livery, running for the Autoropa team. number 88 car, Florian Merckx, with work to do. Nicholas Sturzinger we're on board with, the Wojtek Racing driver, going from P6 on the grid. The little green indicator at the left-hand bottom of the graphics indicating that he's an AM driver. And those graphics will always indicate whether they're AM or Pro drivers. All the social media information on screen for you right now. Do check us out. The Ferrari Challenge across all social media. Of course, clienti.com, of course, the host website for all the information with regards to the Ferrari Challenge. So there, it's a red P at the bottom of the graphics there for Florian Merckx, because he, for Baron Service, is a pro driver. And starting down there, P9. I was talking to team principal Philip Barron about why Florian had not qualified quite as well as we would have expected, and he said it is all down to track knowledge, Dave. And the track knowledge for Florian Merckx not quite there, but done a lot of practice and qualifying, and now into the race. Expect him to move up the order from that P9 position for sure. I think one to watch in this race is going to be Martin Nelson from P4. Showing some good pace. So too Nikita Zlobin, potentially from P3. You can see him weaving from side to side there in the SMP supported car. There is the Hublot safety car, which will allow the cars all to grid up now behind. And the front row, Babylos and Bjorn Grossman. Second row, Zlobin and Nelson. Then it's Gosner and Sturzinger. Then it's Segler and Vezzoni and Merckx and Di Bernardi. Roca and Fangio and Noflak bringing up the rear. That's Alexis Di Bernardi in the blue and white number 65 car. And Florian works with work to do in the all-black machine. Center screen now in car number 88. Gorgeous livery on the Andreas Segler car as well, number 32. It's around the final turn they go now. The safety car peels off. We throw the lights to the top left-hand corner of the screen for you. They're all in grid order, so the lights should go green. Indeed they do, and away and racing we go. Side by side, Babylos and Bjorn Grossman. Look at Martin Nelson on a charge already. I said he was going to be one to potentially watch out for. So there is Martin Nelson. We see one of the marker barriers go as Alexis Di Bernardi runs out to the infield of the circuit. But it's Babylos leading from Bjorn Grossman. A real battle going on between Zlobin and Nelson, though. And trying to join into that is David Gosner also, who's up into P5, although being challenged, and challenged hard. That's Florian Merckx doing the challenging. So through sector one, Babylos, Grossman, Nelson, Zlobin. And on board we go. The Wojtek racing car. Heavy braking from Babylos, and Bjorn Grossman with him all the way, trying to pressure and harry him in the early stages of this race if he can convert that P2. And Zlobin has gone off the track, and that has really played into the hands of Florian Merckx. I said he'd got work to do. He's going to be in P3. Well, at the moment he's tucked in behind Nelson. Zlobin is the one that has gone backwards. Alessandro Vezzoni in the number 27 car, but still this battle rages right at the front of the pack between Babylos and Bjorn Grossman. Florian Merckx indeed up to P4. And Grossman is trying everything he can to make Babylos push himself into a mistake. So lap completed. And the order has remained the same, with Babylos leading Grossman. Then it's Nelson and Florian Merckx, then Slobin, Gosner, Vetsoni, Roca, Di Bernardi. Then it's Ziegler and Sturchinger and Noflak and Fangio at the rear. Now the problem Bjorn Grossman has running so close to Babylos is the car gets very, very hot indeed. You're going to have to do a 1 lap on, 1 lap off to try and keep the car cool. But you can see just how much of a gap these two have pulled out over the P3 driver Martin Nelson already. Some 3 seconds they are up the road from Martin Nelson, who's P3, and Florian Merckx, who's P4. So Grossman is tracking Babylos every step of the way and maintaining the pressure on him as P3, 4, 5. And you can see the front end of the Nikita Slobin car getting very, very loose under heavy braking through that chicane. Here comes Babylos leading the race. Last time over the timing line, he had some 5 tenths over Bjorn Grossman, but Bjorn Grossman has just done the fastest Sector 1 of anyone out there on track. This a replay of the start and on board with the helmet camera of Nicholas Sturchinger. That was Alexis Di Bernardi running into the inside, and that's when Nikita Slobin ran out as well. Babylos really taking some curb and really pushing these 458s, 4,400cc mid-engine Berlinetta. There's Florian Merckx up the inside of Slobin. And that's where Florian Merckx was able to make good and move up the order, as Slobin was running really, really wide, left the door wide open to Florian Merckx. Finds himself up to P4 from that lowly qualifying position that he had. But Slobin is fighting back now. Slobin with him all the way. There is David Gosner. Again, Slobin and Florian Merckx are absolutely side by side here, and Slobin is going to win that place back, and indeed has done so. So Slobin moves up to P4. Florian Merckx relegated now to P5 as Florian Merckx tries to fight back also. Up the road, Babylos sets the fastest lap, a 2:12.877. And there, just look at the gap that the top two have built up over the rest of the pack. Some 6 seconds in the space of 2 racing laps. Extraordinary. David Gosner is under pressure now from Alessandro Vetsoni. Manages to yield off that just for the moment. The order running across the top of the screen for you. And David Gosner and Alessandro Vetsoni battling over P6 and P7. There's Nikita Slobin, who's running in P4 now. And Vetsoni gets the better of David Gosner and does go through. Gosner went to turn in, and the gap that he was going to turn into was full of the Alessandro Vetsoni car. And now Gosner has got Tommaso Roca right behind him. So will Roca be able to find a way past as well? Alexis Di Bernardi battling with Andreas Ziegler. That's the battle for P9 and P10. And joining into that as well is Sturchinger in car number 93, the all-white machine. At the back of that pack. Helmet camera once again. This is not the helmet camera, this is the Florian Merckx onboard camera. From just alongside the driver. pro driver for Baron Service, who is running in P4. And now, under pressure from Zlobin, is Martin Nelson. At the moment, those liveried cars running in P1 and P3, Babylos and Martin Nelson. So the pro standings that you can see there, that's not the race standings, that is the pro standings. As Zlobin goes for a move now up the inside of Martin Nelson, not close enough to be able to do so. Hadn't quite got alongside the Nelson car. And Florian Merckx is probably thinking, I'm just going to let these two fight it out and be there to pick up the pieces. So this battle for third position between Zlobin and Florian Merckx is more of a battle for position behind as well. Three of them together there. Martin Nelson P3. Zlobin is P4 and Florian Merckx is P5. About to be joined by the hard-charging Alessandro Vezzoni also. The AM standings below on the graphics, as you can see. But Alessandro Vezzoni is going to be on the back of this pack in just moments from now as the Octane 126 team watch on. As their man is currently running in P2, Bjorn Grossman. On board with the Foytek driver, who is wearing our helmet camera. Nicholas Sturzinger. So there is Bjorn Grossman, and to be fair, Babylos is now 1.3, nearly 1.4 seconds up the road from Bjorn Grossman. So controlling this really rather nicely from the front is Babylos. And bear in mind, in the Pirelli Pro Championship, it's those two that are at the top of the chart. Bjorn Grossman leading that points charge at the moment. Babylos is P2. But fastest lap comes from Babylos, lap 3, a 2:12.373. And that looks like Martin Nelson has gone around because he's fallen right down the order. Hopefully we'll find out what has happened to Martin Nelson, who was running. So here we can see, well, it was a collision with the number 40 car of Zlobin, who is also out. And you can see the coolant flooding out of the Zlobin car. There's Christian Hobome watching on, one of the Copa Shell racers, with a relaxed pose. Well, feel a bit for Martin Nelson there. I think that was a very bold move by Zlobin. I'd like to see it again. I think he was going for a gap that wasn't really there, and both of them have paid the price for that. Zlobin, by virtue of the fact that I think he's out because there was so much coolant being chucked out of the car, and Martin Nelson, who is now right back there in P10. Meantime, his teammate Babylos is doing a great job at the front here. It was 1.3 last time around, so Bjorn Grossman has taken a 10th out. But P3 now is Alessandro Vezzoni. There he is, and Florian Merckx is P4. Now, the incident involving those two cars, Zlobin and Martin Nelson, is under investigation. No surprise there. So Alessandro Vezzoni is the leader of the AM Championship at the moment in this race, or the AM charge in this race. Alexis Di Bernardi, who's tucked in behind David Gostner, is currently P8. The Luxembourg driver, Alexis Di Bernardi. There is Tommaso Rocca. Behind Tommaso Rocca is Andreas Segler. And their confirmation on the screen that that incident involving the cars of Martin Nelson and Zlobin is under investigation. Nikita Zobin's car in the pits now. No surprise because of all that coolant was being sprayed out of that car. So Alessandro Vezzoni. And there was a little hand gesture from the Florian Merckx car, I think we saw just a moment ago. But these two are utterly side by side. It's Roca and Segler. And Segler gets the better of Roca, and it goes through. So there is Florian Merckx, and there is Alessandro Vezzoni. To say, pretty sure that Florian Merckx had his hand out of the window. As we look back from Tommaso Roca at the David Gosner car. Now P3 in the AM drivers is Tommaso Roca. Actually P6 overall. And David Gosner, who is holding at bay, is actually a pro driver. So good showing from Tommaso Roca. The Rosso Corsa racer that we're on board with right now. Just a minute and a half away from being half distance in this race. Oh, and Alexis Di Bernardi very nearly into the back of David Gosner then. As they come off the back of turn 15 and run down this start-finish straight here. So there is Florian Merckx, P3. There is Alessandro Vezzoni, P4. Segler is 5. Then it's Roca, Gosner, Di Bernardi before we see that car of Nicolas Sturzinger. So that a replay of Alessandro Vezzoni that we saw. Battle for fourth position between the AM drivers of Alexis Di Bernardi and Nicolas Sturzinger. It's the battle for fourth position in the AM category rather than the battle for fourth overall. Is indeed the battle for P8. The pro standings, Babelas, Grossman, Merckx, and then David Gosner is P4 in pro, but David Gosner is actually back down there in P7 in the race. There is Gosner just going through with Alexis Di Bernardi right behind him. Martin Nelson, sadly relegated to P10. Well, driver of car number 40, Zlobin, is being told to report to the stewards after the race. So not surprised by that, if I'm honest. So Zlobin then, of course, whatever punishment he gets, it's not going to help Martin Nelson, as Alexis Di Bernardi loses out there to Nicolas Sturzinger, or does he? Yes, he does. So good move set up there by Nicolas Sturzinger in car number 93 to overhaul Alexis Di Bernardi. And there you can see the Martin Nelson car now tucked up behind Alexis Di Bernardi. Martin Nelson was running well in the race up until the point where he was really rather unceremoniously nerfed out, I fear. Oh, and Martin Nelson runs wide there, just pushing too hard through that right-hander, which is turn 15, which leads us on to the home straight here at the PaulRicard circuit. And Nelson goes for a move on Alexis Di Bernardi now, the Scuderia Autoropa driver. They get side by side. Kessel Racing it is for Alexis Di Bernardi, and Martin Nelson moves up another place, so finds himself now in well, P5 in AM, P9 in the race overall. David Gosner is really under some pressure here now. So he has the Sturzinger car right behind. Gosner doing everything he can to defend, which of course is his right. It's all very well being as quick as the car in front, but you've got to try and find a way past as well. Meantime, Babelas is 1.2 seconds up the road from Bjorn Grossman P2, and Florian Merckx is at some 17 seconds off the pair of them. Well, Alexis Di Bernardi very, very wide through there, which was just what Sturchinger needed. He saw the gap and decided that he was going to go for it. And he made the move stick. And that was Martin Nelson, who also spotted an opportunity and got alongside the Alexis Di Bernardi car and went through. Well, it would appear there's been a change there because Sturchinger is ahead of Gosner now. And can't help but feel that Gosner's going to be under pressure from Martin Nelson in a moment. But now that the number 93 car of Sturchinger has got past Gosner, you can see how much quicker he is up the road, isn't he, in comparison to where David Gosner is. So David Gosner surely is going to fall prey to Martin Nelson also. Hopefully we'll see a replay of that overtake, which we didn't see live because we were following another battle. And there's Martin Nelson making his move, and they get alongside. I don't know whether there was a little bit of contact there. So the drag down the start-finish straight now, and just look at the pace that Nelson has got in comparison to Gosner. I can't help but feel that maybe there is just a problem with that Gosner car. Car number 13, which is that of Martin Nelson, has got to have been told and been warned about track limits. Of course, he's got very much the bit between his teeth as he's trying to get back up the order following that contact with Zlobin, which saw him fall right down. Battle for P3 in AM between Roca and Sturchinger now, and Sturchinger is right on the back of Roca now that he's managed to find his way past that David Gosner car. The brake discs light up with Florian Merckx, who's running P3. We've got in the race overall, top 3 are all pro drivers. The next 5 all AM drivers are on board with Sturchinger now, trying to find what he can to get past Roca ahead. Are we going to see it live? It's going to be the king of the late breakers here. Well, Sturchinger very, very late on the brakes, and the Foytech Racing driver has done it. Great move from Sturchinger, doing some great driving this afternoon. Nelson now is on the back of Tommaso Roca. He'll be next in his target sights. Another one being warned about track limits, and this is perhaps a little bit more crucial, is our P3 driver, Florian Merckx. In the Copa Shell race earlier, we did see someone receive a drive-through penalty for non-respect of the track limits, so the stewards are quite rightly ruling that with a rod of iron. And too many repeat offences of non-respect of track limits, you'll get a drive-through penalty. Martin Nelson is one of those that's been warned. So too now is our P3 driver, Florian Merckx. Meantime, up front, Babylos is 2 seconds to the good over Bjorn Grossman, who in turn is some 22 seconds ahead of Florian Merckx. The leading 2 have pulled out such a margin over the P3 driver. So there is Sturchinger getting past the Tommaso Roca car. And it was always going to be king of the late breakers here. And he did that very well indeed. So Alexis Di Bernardi is running P10, but P6 in the AM category. There he is, the Luxembourg-based Kessel driver. Another one being warned about track limits is Alessandro Vezzoni now, who's running in P4, but is leading the AM category in this race. There you can see that warning. As Martin Nelson now going to try and carve away past Tommaso Roca as they go side by side. Just look at the pace that Martin Nelson has got. As I said, I suspect he's buoyed rather by the fact that he was taken out early on in this race and he's had to work so very hard to get back up the order. And he's certainly still not where he was, but driving like an absolute demon. Martin Nelson at the moment. And here we can see it from on board. Left it to the very, very last minute before diving up the inside. But worked really, really well. Okay, here is our race leader. Sorry, we've not seen too much of him, but that's because there's been battles going on elsewhere, and with a 2.7 second cushion that he has over the P2 driver Bjorn Grossman. Kind of untroubled up front at the moment, isn't he? Matteo Santaporte, or Babalus as he likes to be known. And Grossman, the Octane 126 driver in P2, some 2.3 seconds further down the road. There you can see the gap between the two of them. Scuderia Autoropa for Babalus and Octane 126 for Bjorn Grossman. Well, new to the championship is Frederic Jean-Marie Fangio, who's currently running in P12. Although just looking at the timing screen, of course we'll be running P8 in the AM category. Okay, a warning flag is being shown to the number 27 car, which is currently P4 in the race overall. That's Alessandro Vezzoni. He is the leader of the AM category. This is Tommaso Rocca, whose car has stopped. The Rosso Corsa racer, car number 97, which was running P9 and P5 in AM, has stopped, and yeah, it's like fluid being chucked out the back of that car, and Tommaso Rocca pulls the car in to safety. So there, confirmation of what I said, the message from race control that car number 27, Alessandro Vezzoni, being given a warning flag. Here is our race leader, Babalus, who just under 3 seconds from the P2 car you can see in shot as well, which is Bjorn Grossman. But just look at the gap they have over the P3 car of Florian Merckx. I mean, it can almost be measured in minutes, can't it, before you see the Florian Merckx come into the picture, such as the pace of Babalus and Grossman in comparison to the rest of the pack. I mean, Babalus's last lap was a 2:12.996. Grossman's was a 2:13.154. Florian Merckx a 2:14.976. And yeah, fair play to Florian Merckx with very little experience of this PaulRicard circuit. Running P3 in Pro, running P3 in the race overall. The fastest lap was a 2:12.373. That came on lap 3. So some 6/10 down on that. Alessandro Vezzoni is the leader in the AM category, the Rosso Corsa Pelin racing driver. Alessandro Vezzoni has been given that warning flag, of course, and very conscious that in the final 4 minutes of this race that he doesn't fall foul of the track limits rule and earn himself a drive-through penalty. Put the Guy Bosch on the AM win and also in the P4 overall. Car number 32 is Andreas Zegler, who's P2 in AM and P5 overall. Love the livery on that car. Not everyone does, it has to be said, but I do. I think it looks fantastic. So Zegler it is, who's P2, the Stylev Squadra Corsa driver. P2 in the AM category and P5 in the race overall. Here at this 5.8 kilometre PaulRicard circuit, bathed in sunshine, bathed in beauty with the mountains just behind as well. Fantastic place for motor racing, and the clock tells us that we have 3 minutes left to race. So Babylos, then Grossman, Merckx, all pro drivers. Before we see P4, 5 and 6 all AM drivers, Vezzoni, Segler and Sturzinger, so they're effectively P1, 2 and 3 in the AM category. And Martin Nelson, what a fight back from him to be running in P7 and is P4 in the AM category. The pace of that Babylos car is extraordinary, consistently lapping quicker and quicker and just increasing that margin over the P2 car of Bjorn Grossman. The gap between them 3.4 seconds now. And Grossman is a quick driver, but in comparison to Matteo Santaporte or Babylos, clearly has got the measure of the track and of the car. So P1, there is P2. So Octane 126 have done a great job in engineering the car and giving Bjorn Grossman the car to fight with, but just hasn't quite had the pace of the car set up for Babylos, who runs, of course, from the same team as Martin Nelson, the Autoropa team. Super slow-mo of Alessandro Vezzoni leading the AM category, and super slow-mo of Babylos, who is leading the race overall and, of course, the pro category as well. We're on to the last lap. Octane 126 team await their man crossing the start-finish line. Bjorn Grossman will take P2. Should be relatively untroubled. Autoropa look on as well in their garage. That's a nice smile from Eric. So there is Bjorn Grossman. And up the road is Babylos. There he is. 4 seconds to the good. They're running up towards turn 8 now. Little chicane, which is 8 and 9. Continues to brake really hard, dives into that turn. It was at that particular turn when I was out with Beppe earlier on, as we see going round Fangio, that I felt my lunch move, that's for sure. It takes so much power through that chicane. So turn 10 is next on the order. And this is how Fangio just got the rear wheel onto one of the painted lines, and Frédéric Jean-Marie Fangio spins the car around, but will still finish the race. Creditable performance. So turn 12 it is, where Babylos goes through now. Small kink through turn 13. For heavy braking for the sequence that is turns 14 and 15. 15 being the right-hander onto the start-finish straight, where a checkered flag awaits. The Autoropa driver, Babylos, takes yet another win in the Ferrari Challenge. Bjorn Grossman takes P2. Florian Merckx should cross the line to take P3, although there's some confusion on the timing screen at the moment. But no, there is Florian Merckx. Some distance back. To be fair, I had to look to the track map to make sure that Florian Merckx was still on there. Lee flashes his lights. A great performance from Florian Merckx to take P3 as well, from his good position of P9. And there the standings in the race. Babylos, Grossman, Merckx and Vezzoni. 1, 2, 3, 4. David Gosner will lead Martin Nelson and Alexis Di Bernardi across the timing line. And there in graphics, the results of the first of 2 TropheoPirelli races to come this weekend. There is the number 87 car of No Flack, driving for Kessel, who will take P10 in the race. Car's really spread out through that final sequence of turns and heads towards the checkered flag now to round out the top 10. And it'll be Fangio that takes P11. And there's some more of the synchronized flag waving from the marshals here at PaulRicard. Andreas Ziegler certainly happy with his second place in AM. David Gostner, I would think that the engineers will be looking very carefully at that car. Just didn't seem to quite have the pace. He finished P7 in the race and P4 in Pro. There's Alessandro Vezzoni, a P4 in the race overall, but P1 the winner in the AM category. Another race for the TropheoPirelli drivers to come tomorrow, where weather conditions predicted to be almost identical to today. So, as we mentioned then, Vezzoni it is that takes P4 overall, but wins in the AM race. Alessandro Vezzoni, and the winner in the Pro category, by some measure, is Babylos for Scuderia Autoropa. And there he is. That was a fine victory, to be fair. And there is Bjorn Grossman. Takes P2. And Florian Merckx then. The Baron service driver takes P3. Philippe Baron, former champion himself, there to the very right of your picture to congratulate his man. So let's take a snapshot of the highlights of that race. As the lights went green, it was always going to be a drag race to turn 1. Slobin in car number 40 to the very right of your picture was always looking like he was on a charge. He was. He took rather too much of that chicane and took one of the marker boards out. Whichever way you look, they were all tight together, and there were nerves on the Octane 126 pit perch. More nerves for Autoropa as they saw their man, Martin Nelson, really rather unceremoniously turfed out by the hard-charging Slobin. That would see Slobin out of the race, and Martin Nelson with a lot of work to do. Some great overtaking from Sturzinger during the course of the race. One of the AM drivers, and David Gostner, one of the Pro drivers, found himself further down the order than he would like, and that was the retirement of the number 97 car of Tommaso Roca. Babylos, though, was in a class of his own at the front of the pack and took the checkered flag. So we look on at Andreas Ziegler then. And here is the top 3 in both categories. In Pro, it was Babylos, Grossman and Merckx. And in AM, it was Vezzoni, Ziegler and Sturzinger. Next, we'll be heading up to the podium. So everyone awaits below the podium, which is literally just a couple of steps away from our commentary position here. Sadly, the lead on the microphone is not quite long enough for me to go out the door and shout at them. My delight for their success. There's Florian Merckx, takes P3. Here comes Bjorn Grossman, P2. Babylos, a very, very dominant performance indeed. And we'll go to the top step of the podium. National anthem to play out now.
Over the Italian national anthem, and the trophy are presented by Mr. Frédéric Administrateur Circuit PaulRicard for the third of the green.
Frédéric Tournier then, the board member for PaulRicard Circuit. Should be very proud of your circuit, sir. He makes the trophy presentation, first of all, to Florian Merckx for taking P3. P2 goes the way of Bjorn Grossman, and on the top step of the podium is Babylos. Trophy and the Pirelli trophy as well. Theo Meyer, the challenge manager.
Thank you, Theo, for your work. Thank you, Pirelli, and we are ready for the picture. One picture for this first race Pirelli trophy in PaulRicard.
So great photo opportunity there, as all of them on the top step of the podium. Oh, hang on, take two. You can hear the wind that has really got up here around the PaulRicard circuit, which has actually been quite welcome given the heat. And the celebrations then on top of the podium here at PaulRicard for the TropheoPirelli Pro category. Still got the AM category podium to come, which will feature Alessandro Vezzoni, Andreas Segler and Sturzinger. Here in the Drivers' Championship, Bjorn Grossman's lead now is a slender 3 points over Babylos, as of course they finished in the reverse order in this race, with Babylos taking the win from Bjorn Grossman. Florian Merckx on 77 points. So tomorrow is going to be a very, very important race as we take some super slow-mo images of the top three. This is Florian Merckx lighting up the brake discs and taking quite a lot of curb as he pushed the Baron Service 458 through its paces. The Octane 126 driver Bjorn Grossman just as aggressive through those curbs in his quest to keep on terms with the man that actually couldn't be touched in the race at all and seemed to have a pace all of his own. This man, Babylos, in car number 55. The Autoropa team having set the car up perfectly and was driven perfectly by Babylos as well. Okay, here comes the AM category. Sturzinger, Segler, and here's Alessandro Vezzoni. So national anthem plays out. And here come the trophy presentations then. Once again, Frédéric Tournier, the board member for the PaulRicard circuit. First of all, he makes the trophy presentation to Nicholas Sturzinger, P3 in the AM category. P2 will go the way of Andreas Segler, and he receives his trophy right now. And Alessandro Vezzoni it is. Who holds his trophy aloft for P1. Of course, trophy to be presented to the Rossicorsa Pellin team as well. And once again, Pirelli making that presentation. Theo Meyer, who's in charge of Pirelli for Ferrari Challenge. They all move in for the obligatory photograph, and then the celebrations will start once again. So we've seen the pro podium, and this is the AM podium as the champagne goes everywhere, and the podium a great place to be to celebrate victory for the AM driver Alessandro Vezzoni, P2 Andreas Segler, P3 Nicholas Sturzinger. Next race tomorrow for Coppichelle is going to be race 2 at 13:10 GMT, and we will have a TropheoPirelli race to follow that as well. So plenty more action to come from the PaulRicard circuit and the Ferrari Challengers. We make our mid-season visit, if you like, to this fantastic venue with those clear blue skies, just a little bit of harmless high cloud up there. So Vezzoni and Nelson now right at the top on 107 points. Then it's Segler, P3. Thomas O'Rourke, P4. Then it's Sturzinger, Di Bernardi, Lubomir Jakovic, David Gadri. Joe Macari, the UK driver, is still P9 in the points with Maxim Lukianov, P10. Those the AM points for the TropheoPirelli drivers. So more action to come tomorrow from TropheoPirelli, both pro and AM drivers, of course, in the same race. As we take a look at some of the highlights. I remind you, join us tomorrow, if you will, for TropheoPirelli and for Coppichelle races from the Ferrari Challenge. We leave you with these highlights to music. From all of us here, thank you so much for watching, and check us out tomorrow as well. Bye-bye for now.